So when we're training for bones, what we go back to is saying, okay, because we know that these fracture causes are A, falling, B, posture. That's the biggest thing. So how do we prevent fractures? We prevent fractures by improving your balance. When we have better balance, we don't fall as frequently. By not falling, you don't fracture. It's easy as that. Fewer falls, fewer fractures. That is just purely a numbers. That is purely a statistical likelihood, right? The second thing is working on posture. So how good is my posture? How much load am I putting through the spine during my daily activities? Or whenever I am exercising, am I putting my spine in a good position so I can decrease the likelihood of that vertebral fracture? I can make sure that the load that I'm moving is appropriate for my body and I'm not putting myself at risk for that. And of course, this third aspect, which is why a majority of people will contact us, is to say, okay, training for strength, I'm going to load my bones. I'm loading my frame. When I load my bones and I load my frame, what I'm doing is I'm presenting the body, I'm presenting the bones, I'm presenting my skeleton with an external force that says, whoo, you need to get it together here. We're going to be lifting these things more frequently. And your bones are like, oh my gosh, okay, hang on a second. Let me get stronger so we don't have a fracture. That's essentially the body's response when it comes to strength training. There's a lot of other aspects from a strength training standpoint that should be there before I start lifting heavy. And we'll dive into that a bit more throughout the course of this workshop. So let's first talk about what I had mentioned about balance training. So when I'm doing my balance training, the goal is that I have better balance. So I'm not stumbling. I'm not falling. The things that might scare other people, things that might pull someone else down, because my balance is better, I'm not falling. That's one thing. Okay. So we want to be able to prevent these falls. The second thing is that if I can train my balance so that whenever I'm off balance, I can better save it. So even whenever I am at a point where I'm doing my balance exercise and my body's trying to adjust to it, by training that quick response, it's preventing those falls, right? So if I have better balance, I have fewer falls. Fewer falls is less likelihood for a fracture because I'm not hitting the ground as frequently. So when I'm training my posture, going to that next block, if I can work on staying as tall as possible, and when I say this, everyone sits up a little bit taller, right? So I tell people if I'm working out for 3 hours a week, I have 3 hours out of the course of a week. It's 168 hours is 1 week. I talk about this posture as the other 165. What am I doing in the other 165 hours of the week in order to help prevent fractures? That is the big thing when it comes to posture. People look for posture exercises. They look for these quick fixes. Not possible. Posture is about what positions am I putting myself in my regular life that is going to help me stay as tall as possible, help me decrease my likelihood for being in poor positions and therefore those compression fractures. Okay. And again, like I mentioned, when we're lifting weights, we're loading those bones. By loading my skeleton with that force, with that load, I'm getting those muscles to contract. Those muscles are pulling on bone. Bone will bend, and that's okay if bone bends. It has to bend. Bone will bend, and bone will respond to the loads that I'm putting on my skeleton. The idea here is we want to always maintain bone mass. Maintain is key. That's step number one. Because for me to tell everyone out there that we're going to increase their bone, not possible. I'm sorry, I'm not lying to you. I'm just being honest. Okay. So our goal number one is if you're on a decline for that bone mass, if you've seen that you have that change of -3% since your last scan, we want to nip that in the bud and we want to try to get you to maintain where that bone mass is. Okay. From there, if you can, whether it is with or without medication, let's see if we can increase it. That's a really awesome side effect if that does happen.